Good morning to you all. I'm live in Meanjin, Brisbane. The rain has just started to trickle down here as southeast Queensland and northern New South Wales brace for the arrival of Tropical Cyclone Alfred. Now, when it makes landfall, it will be the first cyclone to hit the region in more than 50 years. Authorities are telling residents they need to prepare. They need to take shelter at home or, as a last option, an evacuation centre. The destructive core of Cyclone Alfred isn't expected to arrive till later tomorrow, so that modelling has pushed out the arrival of Cyclone Alfred, but the effects of the Category 2 system are already being felt. We have reporter Ariana Levy at Kedron at SES headquarters in Queensland, also Digby Werthmuller, who is at Coffs Harbour. First, let's go to Ari. Ari, tell us what's the latest. What are emergency services preparing for?
Yeah, good morning, Emma. Well, it really does seem like all hands on deck here in Queensland. So we've got swiftwater rescue that have been pre-deployed. They are in position. ADF crews are on standby. And of course, there's Queensland and New South Wales SES crews that are also at the helm. And this is something that the Prime Minister was really speaking about yesterday. He really said that with this disaster event, there is no Tweed border. There are effectively Queensland and New South Wales crews coming together for this joint effort in providing assistance where necessary. But as you mentioned, that latest modelling from the Bureau of Meteorology has really indicated a significant delay in Tropical Cyclone Alfred's potential coastal crossing. For the system, we do see it still sitting about 300 kilometres off the coast of Queensland. It's currently east of the Gold Coast, and it's still travelling at about that 7 kilometre an hour pace. That is vastly different from yesterday, where it was travelling about 14 kilometres an hour. So it is almost slowing in that westward track, and that is a particular concern for authorities. They're warning residents not to be complacent. While we do have a bigger window of opportunity to continue to prepare, they say that that still does mean we are going to continue to feel the effects of Tropical Cyclone Alfred as it does approach. Now, there are watch and act warnings that are in place for a lot of the Queensland southeast coastline. We're talking from the Sunshine Coast, Noosa, Redlands, Moreton, all the way down to Brisbane, the Scenic Rim, and even the Gold Coast. So that is going to encapsulate quite a vast range of communities, many which are highly densely populated, and a lot of these vulnerable communities really have felt the impacts of previous major flooding events, including the likes of the 2022 flooding event, as well as that tornado that was experienced along the Gold Coast back on Boxing Day of 2023. And that's something that the Premier, David Crisafulli, has really pushed forward in his messaging. He says there is a lot of past trauma that's been associated, so he's warning residents not to be complacent as we sort of wait to see what exactly happens. He says that a lot of this system is already being felt, especially along the Gold Coast, with those record-breaking waves that have been felt.
We received just moments ago, I just got briefed that there was a wave recorded off Main Beach of the Gold Coast overnight of 12.3 metres. Now, that's the highest ever recorded. So it remains a Category 2 system. It remains a real threat. All of the models show it is heading into the coast, and I just want Queenslanders to be prepared.
Now, a number of services across southeast Queensland have been halted for today. That includes public transport, ferry services, elective surgery has also been postponed, and a number of schools are closed. We're talking about 600 here in southeast Queensland and nearly 300 in northern New South Wales. Here at the SES headquarters in Queensland, we are expecting a meeting of the State Disaster Committee. Alongside them will be the Premier, David Crisafulli, who will receive briefings, as well as several state and federal ministers who are all convening here. And on the topic of conversation, it will all be about what exactly the contingency plans are moving forward and what exactly the plan is for today, given this delayed modelling from the Bureau of Meteorology. So we'll keep you updated throughout the morning, Emma.
Thanks, Ari. OK, let's go to Digby Werthmuller, who's in Coffs Harbour now. Digby, what's the situation there at the moment? How are residents feeling and preparing?
Yeah, look, Emma, residents here are certainly going about their day just as any other ordinary day here in Coffs Harbour. People have been walking along the coastal walk with their dogs, going to grab a coffee. It seems as if it's very much the calm before the storm. Here's what a few of those people had to say just a short while ago.
Having some spare water batteries in life just in case the power goes out.
Yeah.
So.
It's actually not all that windy. Yeah. No, it's pretty calm. Yeah.
Do you think it'll get a little bit worse as the cyclone sort of comes a little bit closer?
I'm no expert in these matters, but I think we're in for a bit of wet weather.
Yeah.
And go to the Rabbitohs. Oh, yeah.
Well, we're elevated a little bit above the beach and things like that, so no, we're pretty good.
We're about 200 metres.
Bought a few extra, eggs and things like that. But
Yeah.
The State Emergency Service has over 2,000 volunteers at the ready to respond to any incidents that might occur once that Cyclone Alfred makes landfall late tomorrow afternoon. They also have had or received over 2,300 requests for sandbags, and there is a sandbag location set up here in Coffs Harbour for people to come down and grab and fill where necessary. So people are making the right preparations. The Coffs Harbour Airport has suspended operations for the foreseeable future due to the weather conditions, and the Australian Defence Force has pre-positioned a heavy lifting helicopter at that airport just in case it is needed as the days continue to drag on. The Arari Valley community, which is just inland here from Coffs Harbour, they have experienced significant flooding 3 years ago in 2022 when the floods happened then, and they're also experiencing some light flooding now. A post to their community Facebook page said that some of the local bridges were experiencing flooding and they had already experienced some blackouts. So they'll be getting prepared as the day comes on. Talking to the State Emergency Service this morning, they said that once that cyclone comes through and disperses, the real issue is the weather that it brings that follows that cyclone, and that's going to bring significant rainfall and flash flooding. So looking towards Saturday, even Sunday, we could see some flash flooding in this region. But for now, people are just going about their day and getting ready for what is to come.
Digby and Ari, thank you for joining us this morning. So team, I guess preparations are certainly continuing for a lot of residents, but a lot of people are waking up, certainly here in Brisbane, finding the situation is a lot calmer. It's fairly eerie though, a lot calmer than what they were expecting. But now, of course, we know that Tropical Cyclone Alfred will arrive later than anticipated. So in some ways, good news because that means more time to prepare, but it also means just those nerves waiting for that arrival just get drawn out even more.
Yeah, thanks, Emma. Hearing anecdotally that some bay communities are already seeing some of that wind. Keen to hear how the islands are going as well. Pretty substantial populations on there. Some residents had been evacuated from North Stradbroke Island, Minjerra Bar. Elderly Aboriginal population there had been evacuated onto the mainland. So, look, really keen to hear from you out there in the community. If you're seeing and hearing the effects of the cyclone already, if you're just preparing, if you're anxious, if you're feeling okay, whatever it is, please get in touch. You can join us on our Facebook page.
And please do heed the advice of the SES emergency authorities. Today is your best chance to prepare, and if you need to leave, please do so early. All right, it's not just the cyclone that we're watching this morning, is it, Charles? There's a few other bits and pieces going on.
Yeah, that's right, James. There is an emergency level bushfire in Western Australia burning in the southwest of the state. Residents in parts of Windy Harbour are being told it's too late to leave. The blaze has burned through more than 2,600 hectares of bushland. Staying in Western Australia, just 2 days out from the state election, housing, youth justice and a controversial plan to build a motorsport precinct in the state's capital are among some of the key issues for voters. The Liberals are today promising to reduce ambulance ramping by expanding urgent care clinics, while Premier Roger Cook says he's not taking any seat for granted, with Labor's election promises amounting to more than $3 billion. The US has cut off intelligence sharing with Ukraine. It comes just days after President Donald Trump's clash with President Volodymyr Zelensky in the Oval Office. Meanwhile, Australia's Defence Minister Richard Marles says Australian troops are already training Ukrainian armed forces in Britain, and the government will consider further requests.
We have taken a step back and are pausing and reviewing all aspects of this relationship.
Economic inequality has reached a 20-year high. The latest Hilda study also reveals a significant rise in childcare costs, especially for single parents. It's also found that Aussie men are doing the same amount of housework as they did back in 2002. Victorian councils say more than half of the state's 260 public swimming pools are at risk of closing without further funding. The councils say these pools are more than 50 years old. The state and federal governments say they have programs available to help fund eligible pool projects.